how do wallet-based applications like Apple Pay, Google Pay, how do these kind of mobile applications ensure the security of customer information?
This makes the life much more tougher for the bad guys who is trying to steal the card information and try to unethically use it.
To make sure that their systems are secured enough for all the users to use their cards or the tokens anywhere.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Domain Podium. Today we have two special guests joining us on this stage, the maker and the checker. Why I'm using this metaphorical phrase to introduce our guest is because our maker, Mr. Tanmay Patel, is the visionary architect of tokenization and digital payments, who brings more than a decade of experience in digital payments. He is an expert in crafting innovative solutions that make things work seamlessly. On the other side, our checker, Mr. Manohar Rauri, is a testing expert. With more than 15 years of experience in the card and payment industry, he is a master of ensuring that every detail is verified, leaving no room for error in production. Together, they form an essential team involved in creating and ensuring the quality and security of transactions, making life easier and more secure for end users. Please give a warm welcome to our esteemed guest. It is truly an honor to have you both on the stage with us today. Thank you so much for joining Tanmay and Manohar.
Thank you so much, Ramesh, for the lovely introduction.
Thank you, Ramesh. Thank you for your introduction. It's my pleasure to join you on this show.
Pleasure is all mine, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. So let's kick off our conversation with the first question of the day that revolves around card and transaction security. Typically in fintech or in a payment domain, we use the term sensitive information quite frequently. But what exactly does it mean? How do we as a user interpret sensitive information? And what comes to mind when we think of card or transaction security? So Tanmay, what's your general perspective around this sensitive information? What do you think about it?
Well, the sensitive data are essentially everything that could lead to financial loss, identity theft, or fraud if it falls into the wrong hand. So generally, the sensitive data includes your personal identification numbers like your phone number, Aadhaar card, PAN card, or social security number. And your financial data are like your credit card numbers, your expiry date, CVV, PIN, etc. Okay, so these are your sensitive informations. But how your sensitive information are protected? Okay, in general, the systems which process this data, they do not store or process this data in clear text. Okay, every time this data are getting processed or stored, those are stored in encrypted format so that this data can be protected and cannot be exposed to the fraudsters.
So rightly pointed out, Tanmay, I think there are two different kind of sensitive information. One is the non-financial information, the customer demographic, customer name, mobile number, email address. These are also sensitive information which I as a user may not want it to be exposed to others, right? Similarly, on the financial side, my card number, my expiry date, CVV2, all those information is sensitive, and users should know that this is a sensitive information and they should not share it with anyone. So coming on to Manohar, like on the testing part of it, right? We understand this is a sensitive information, but how do generally as a tester, we test these kind of stuff when it comes to performing an authorization or storing the card information in the database? So how do generally we protect or generally we test the sensitive information?
Yes, Ramesh, I totally agree with you and Tanmay. The sensitive data is not only important for an user, but also it is important for a financial organization. So for a tester, it will be a critical job for him to verify each and every sensitive data which is being transferred during a transaction flow or while we onboard a customer data into the card applications. We should thoroughly test that every sensitive data, like how you said, the PIN data or a mobile number or any customer identification data, are being stored in our card application system in a secured and in masked format. For that, we have multiple tools today which we use day in, day out on a daily basis to test the customer data or the transaction flow, where, to name a few, like card PIN data or user login password or a card number are being encrypted and sent to the card management system. In addition to this, usually in a financial organization, they have a security check performed by a separate auditing team who overview the security of an organization data information by calculating and measuring the set of established criteria or the test validations in the system.
You brought up a valid point, Manohar. The testing of the sensitive information is so crucial for any organization, be it a bank or a financial processor. And there are methods and techniques to verify and ensure that you don't store any sensitive information in a clear format. And not only that, once you're through this testing, then yes, there are auditors, those who are performing some audit checks and then just verifying, like, as a processor or a banker, we are not storing any customer information. So this is really a delicate matter, to be honest, and the interpretation of the sensitive information is indeed a critical aspect of a payment domain, and it is so important everyone understand this. So now that we know what sensitive information is, with that, let's move on to understanding how we protect it. Like, we know this is sensitive information, okay? A customer card is a sensitive information, but like, what kind of techniques or what technologies we use to protect that information? What is the role of tokenization in safeguarding customer information? Tanmay, being an SME, I know you've been into this industry for more than a decade now, and you have been creating solutions designed for tokenization. So what do you think, like, how do wallet-based applications like Apple Pay, Google Pay, or any other banking token service application, how do these kind of mobile applications ensure the security of customer information? What do you think about this?
In the previous questions, we briefly covered how the system protects your sensitive data, how masking helps, how encryption helps. Now we can discuss how tokenizations come into picture, how tokenizations protect your sensitive informations quite efficiently, right? Before going into the details of how tokenizations protect your data, I just want to quickly touch upon what tokenizations is and what is a token. To put it simply, the tokenization is a secure method that replaces your sensitive information like your card number with a harmless code called as token. Okay, this is what we called token in our world. So now, how does this token protect your card informations? Right? So when we type our credit card informations on a website or in a payment applications, the number turns into a token. We call this process as digitization process. So once the digitization process is completed, a unique token is generated for your card. And going forward, the merchant or the wallet application keeps the token, not the original card number. And instead of the original card number, henceforward, the token will be used in the payment ecosystem. The wallet and the merchant ecosystem is not storing the actual card number anymore. So instead of that, they are storing the token. So in case any attackers try to get into their system and try to steal the card informations, they will only get a token, which is practically useless to them. This makes the life much more tougher for the bad guys who is trying to steal the card information and try to unethically use it. Because even if they grab the token, that won't work anywhere else. So this token is only meant for the specific wallet or the specific merchant, right? So the tokens are like a special keys that just made for one door. So if you try to open another door with this particular key, that won't work. So that's how the token protects your card information. If you try to take out the card token information and try to use it anywhere else, that won't work. So I'll just summarize it. Okay, so the token are generated for a specific merchant or wallet. So for example, if you try to store your card information in a wallet like Samsung Pay or Google Pay, right, the specific unique token will be created for Samsung Pay. A unique specific token will be created for Apple Pay or Google Pay. So if you try to get out the token from Samsung Pay and you want to use that in Google Pay or any other online transactions, that won't work. Because that specific token is meant for Samsung Pay, not any other wallet.
That's an interesting information you are sharing with us, Tanmay. But I'm curious to know how, from a testing perspective, we simulate these kind of scenarios in a UAT lab, Manohar. as a customer, I might create a token in a wallet based application and then I can start utilizing in a real time. But how do we simulate these kind of scenarios in the UAT lab?
Yes, Ramesh. So for a tester, it is very important for him to understand where this particular token data is stored, or where the particular card number is stored, or the device details where the token has been created. All this information for a tester, it is really important for him to understand in a card application where this particular data is available. Because for a user, it is a card as well as a token or a device. For a tester, it is to understand where the data is, whether it is a masked or a unmasked. For that, we clearly first go through the clear requirements or the documentation we received from the financial institutions, and we prepare our test cases or scenarios for this particular related data or the values which are going to be placed in the card application system, and we use different tools and simulators to trigger those particular data or create a transaction and validate them. This is being done initially as a manual process, which we call as manual testing. Later, once the manual testing is completed, so we might have multiple phases of testing once the production go live happens, which is a regression testing, which can be a retesting, or multiple phases of testing. For that, we create an automation pack or an automation scripts to validate each and every values of a card and a token or any mask demo or the device ID where the card is being created. We make sure that is being thoroughly validated in the card application system, Ramesh.
So are you saying, Manohar, that in a test kind of environment, first of all you use some simulator or a tool to create a token, and once you manage to get a token, you place that information again in a different simulator and you create a manual transaction, post it to the processor, and then transaction is getting approved. So is that a way you manually simulate the scenarios in a test environment?
Yes, Ramesh, you are right. So this is how we do that. So we don't get an physical system or a real world system or an application where the customer does the creation of a token or doing a transactions for the tokenized transactions, I can say. So for that, we use a simulator. So this simulator uses us to create a transaction or initiate a transaction which is similar to be happening in the real world, which we call as a tokenized transaction, and we validate in the card application or a system or a financial application that that particular card based or an token based transaction is validated in the card application.
I think that sounds really interesting to know the testing aspect of it, Manohar, and of course, Tanmay, from you, how tokenization work. So I understand that the tokenization plays a vital role in safeguarding the customer information. But I have a fundamental question here. I just wanted to understand, why should I as a user, when I'm using my card first time on a merchant website or a wallet based application, maybe first time I'm tokenizing my card on a wallet application, why should I as a user place my trust in any of these wallet applications or merchant? Because even for my first transaction, my card information can still be compromised, right? So who assures the security of the customer sensitive information for these kind of scenario when a customer is using it first time? So can we try to understand how these innovative technologies, tokenization, right, for example, can effectively address these security concern of an ordinary person?
Well, you are right, Ramesh. So to create a token, user need to provide the card details to the wallet or the merchant for the very first time. Okay. So these wallets and merchant follow all the security best practices, and they are encrypting the card details. They're not ensuring that they are not storing the card details anywhere. The data while in transit are properly encrypted with multiple encryption technologies and everything, right? And once the token is created, they ensure that the card details are getting discarded and they are only storing the token. Okay. So now here what is happening is, if you understand here, the card details are not getting stored. So for an attacker, he can only store the card informations during the tokenization process. Okay, so he has only few seconds while the data in transit, he can steal the card informations. And with all the security technologies like encryptions and everything else in place, taking out the card information in very short time is very, very, very difficult. So that makes it very, very secure.
So Tanmay, what I understood is your point that you're highlighting is like even for the first time when I'm using my clear card information, so the kind of security which is implemented, the end-to-end transition of the card from one point to another point, which is fully encrypted, it is almost impossible to steal a customer sensitive information. So this is the level of security that these kind of technologies are providing to a customer. So we can assure that I as a user should not be worried about, when I'm putting across my card number on any of the website or any wallet based application. So I think yes, that's a fair point. But from a testing perspective, is there a way to test these kind of scenarios as well? Like when a customer is using the information first time, if you have already taken the all the security measures in the back end or in the programming, then I don't think so there would be anything that a tester would want to test as part of the first transaction. But still there are something that Manohar, maybe you can shed some light for our audience.
Yes, Ramesh, you're correct. So today, for every financial institution, it is really critical for them to validate and test the security of the card application as well as the networking system. Cardholder can access the bank website or the mobile application. He can create token, he can perform transactions from any location. It can be any geographical location. It can be a secure or it can be a unsecure. So financial organization does many rounds of security testing for each and every application of the network and the networking system as well. So to name a simple example of a test, I can say there is a test called penetration testing, which means they use some tools, techniques and processes to test or evaluate their IT infrastructure. To find and demonstrate the business impacts or the weakness of the system. So this is one kind of a very normally or usually used testing tool or testing methodology which tests the infrastructure of the banking application. Similarly, there are many in the market or many are being used by the banking system or the financial organization to make sure that their systems are secured enough for all the users to use their cards or the tokens anywhere in any geographical location or any application or any URLs or websites.
Very well articulated, guys. I think the anatomy of the transaction processing is so vast that it is really difficult for a normal user to understand what all goes through in the backend or in the programming. Not everyone can understand it easily, but these technologies, they are, I think, so far successful to build a confidence for a user so that a user can start utilizing these technologies in day-to-day life and they can start trusting it. With that, we can move to the next segmentation of our discussion. So far, we understood the sensitive information, the security aspect of it, and the tokenization. But if I remember, just a couple of years ago, there was no tokenization, right? And we used to use a plastic card. Traditionally, we are using the plastic card or maybe the net banking or any other facility to make payments or any transactions, right? So what makes tokenization different from the traditional way of making payments using physical card? Like, we can definitely dive into the safety aspect of it, why a card-based transaction is risky, and now how using a token offers more security and reassuring better experience for the customer as compared to using a physical card, right? So can we delve into it and understand this security aspect? Like, what's the difference? What's the fundamental difference between the traditional way of making payment and as well as the tokenization and the token-based transaction payments?
So there are two major advantages with the tokenization technology. There is your convenience and security. Okay, we'll understand both convenience and security through an example. So imagine you are in a coffee shop grabbing a nice cup of coffee in the morning. So traditionally, how we used to do payment is you need to find the right card out of the bunch of credit and debit cards you have, right? And then hand it over to the counter guy to make payments. Now, thanks to the tokenization technology, the digital wallets nowadays are offering to store your physical cards in a digital form in the wallets. So now you have very rich UI and nice applications through you can find the right card for you. Okay, and then you select your card, tap it, that's it. The payment is done. It likes having a express way for your payment. We talked about how tokenizations offer better convenience for the user. So let's talk about how it offers better security. So whenever you are trying to make payment to the physical card, and you are handing over your card to the counter guys, okay, and you are taking out your physical card where the number is embossed. So there could be different cameras or maybe people seeing around and remembering the card number, and there are so many security posts. But wherein using a digital format of it, probably you just tap it and there is no card informations available in the mobile applications. It's just a token or the mask last 4 digits of your card number, that's it. So there is no information leaking out in the digital payments. So that's the security aspect what tokenizations provide.
From testing perspective, Manohar, how do you see these two kind of scenarios? One is card based, other one is the token based. Like, how do you generally simulate these kind of scenarios in the test environment? You must be having some simulators and tools for this one, right?
When it is coming to the card application, these two are different transaction types. So to go into more technical, we have different values, different fields or some data elements which passes from the transaction initiator to the card application who authorizes the transactions. So when the transaction is flowing from an initiator, the way the transaction being initiated, to the authorizer, the card application, there are different values in the data elements which differentiates these two transaction types, with which the card application can understand that this is a card-based transaction or it is a token-based transactions. So during our testing, we make sure the simulator or the tool which we are using is being inputted, or we pass the correct value to mimic or the recreate of this transaction, and make sure those values are correctly passed and the application who is approving this transaction is correctly validating these different fields and values or the messages which is being sent to them in each and every transaction type.
But what are the different, use cases of tokenization? As a user, I know this is when I'm using my mobile device, it's a token-based transaction. I'm not using my card, okay? But what are the use cases? Where all I, as a user, know that I can go and use my token, and what form of token we are using? Should I, know as a user, or I just can simply ignore all these kind of scenarios, and wherever it is accepted, I can start going ahead and start using it at the merchant store?
The tokenization is a quite seamless technology. So a user might not know where he is tokenizing his card and where he is not. Let's talk about what are the different use cases that tokenization offers. There are different possibilities with the tokenizations. We will talk about the few more prominent use cases that are in use today. Like you have your NFC tap and pay, wherein you can tokenize your card in Google Pay, Samsung Pay, then utilize these wallet applications to do tap and pay based payment. Then you have your e-com and card on file use cases, wherein you can tokenize your card in the merchant websites. Then you can use your tokens to make payments. Even you can use this token to make recurring payments, like buying your Netflix subscriptions. Mm-hmm. Then you have wearable payments. Okay, you can leverage the tokenization technology to make payments using your different wearable devices. For example, your smartwatch, smart rings.
Okay.
So these are the most prominent use cases we came across today in the tokenization. There could be different futuristic use cases, like you can even withdraw money from the ATM, you can use in digital passports, and so many other use cases can come up.
Well, as Tanmay rightly said, the user can do the transaction from anywhere. As he said, it can be an NFC tap and pay, or it can be a Netflix transaction, or it can be e-commerce. So we as a testing team, we have to think that we are an user, and we have to make sure that all these transactions which are applicable for a card-based or an token-based transactions are being covered as part of our test execution, and we have to thoroughly validate every transaction type which is being approved or declined based on the transaction type or transaction condition by the card application system.
I completely agree with both of you because the payment landscape has been evolving in the past few years, and there has been a massive change in technology that brings a lot of user convenience, right? And in my opinion, the fundamental of payment are still traditionally executed, but the way payment is being accepted changing the world, right? Earlier I used to use card, I used to visit a bank, or maybe making some bank transfer using a check, using cash withdrawal over the counter. But these days I just have my mobile phone and I go anywhere I want to go, and any kind of transaction, be it a tokenization or QR, and that's the level of convenience is being provided to the user. So now let's discuss a different perspective of tokenization, the scenarios which are not very common for a user to get that experience on a daily basis. But still, as a user, I may want to know, like, if there are any maximum limit on the number of devices on which I can go and tokenize my card. Okay, and what if by any chance I misplace my device or someone grabs it, and in the same device I have tokenized my card? So what steps should I take to safeguard my digital wallet, like my card that I have stored in the wallet? So what are the security measurements that I can take immediately after losing my mobile device?
So there are no such restrictions on how many devices you can tokenize your card, Ramesh. So it's left open to the implementer, to the wallet providers, how they want to implement it. But there is no such hard-coded rule saying that these are the maximum number of devices that to be allowed. Okay, this is quite open to implement. Different wallets can implement it differently.
Okay.
So let's talk about, that's an interesting question, wherein or most of the users might have questions like, or doubts, like that if we lost the devices, what would happen? And how do I kind of make sure that it is not misutilized?
Yeah.
Right. So user do not have to worry much, because we'll have to understand how what are the security measures are applicable to the devices before you make a payment. Okay, most of the digital wallets, or rather I would say all of the digital wallets, like all the Samsung Pay, Google Pay, Apple Pay, everyone, they authenticate the user first. So basically user has to authenticate himself by unlocking his device or by logging into the applications. And once they successfully authenticate, only then he will allow to make a payment. Unlike the physical card, if somebody grabs it, he can quickly go and do certain level transactions. Here, the fraudster or the bad guys do not have their options. Unless he is able to unlock his device, unless he is able to log into the wallet applications, he will not be able to utilize it. Okay, that is the level of security the digital wallets are providing. But let's say the worst case scenario wherein he is able to unlock, he is able to break into your applications. So what all other options the user have, right? So I can anytime call my customer care, whoever is my card issuers. Okay, I can tell him that, hey, I lost my device, and they can block all your tokens for you. Okay, so if you tell them, okay, I want to block all your tokens because I lost my device, they'll immediately block all the tokens so that cannot be misused. Okay. Few of the wallets, they provide a better experience where they provide you a portal where you can mark the device as a lost. So once you click that, okay, this device is lost, then all the tokens will be deleted remotely, and your data are perfectly safe.
So what I understood is, like, customer has an option to give the customer care representative and can disable the token. I believe additionally customer should also be able to log into the net banking, wherein he should be able to see the option and can also disable the token from there. So the moment a customer is losing the mobile device, like, he can still safeguard his personal card information. And Manor, I think in the testing also we should be covering this kind of scenario, like when a customer lost the mobile phone. You must be testing it in the test environment, right?
Yes, Ramesh, you rightly said. As from testing perspective also, we have to test this scenario. But the most important part here is we need to think from a customer perspective, we need to think from a call center perspective, and we need to think from a backend bank application perspective. And we have to make sure every scenario, when I say as a call center perspective, I need to access this respective web-based application or a front-end application or a mobile application. I need to block the card or mark the card as lost and stolen, and make sure at the back end the application is updated correctly with the status. And then I need to trigger a transaction and check whether the transaction is being approved or declined when such status is applied on the card. Also, I need to check what is happening on the token status, whether it is deleted or added, or the token is getting updated. So from a testing perspective, I need to validate all these areas of scenarios from the call center to a backend application.
But Manohar, in these kind of scenario, when a customer has only lost the mobile application, is it mandatory to mark the card as well lost or stolen in the system, or it's only the token that has to be disabled?
Yes, you're right, Ramesh. So only the token has to be disabled in this particular scenario.
What if we flip the scenario? We just now talked about when a user lost the mobile device. What will happen to my token if my card is lost or reissued? Like after losing the card, can I still continue using my wallet application for tap and pay scenario when the actual card has been lost? Is that possible?
That is technically and functionally feasible, Ramesh, because the cards and the mobile device are two separate payment instruments. So if you lose your cards, in a general sense, the device is not compromised. So as a user, you will be able to continue to use that. But as of today, most of the issuers do not allow it. In future, we might see these options coming up. As of today, what happens is, as long as you lose your card, you should immediately report to the call centers, and the call centers block all your tokens. So wherever you have tokenized your card, all those tokens will be stopped working. Okay. In additional measure, like you can also have options to kind of log into your mobile banking applications or to the wallet portals, and you can see where you have tokenized your cards, what is the current status of those tokens, and you can manage the tokens, like you can delete all these tokens if it is not already done by the issuer. You have enough flexibility to kind of manage your tokens in these scenarios.
But in these kind of scenarios, the token, because first of all, the card number will be blocked, right? The card number is blocked. After that, the tokens are also getting disabled or deleted. But can I reuse these kind of token which has been previously disabled, which were associated to a particular card, but the card is now blocked, permanently blocked? So can those tokens be still reused for some other card number in the future, or even that token also we cannot use it?
So in case of reissuance, it can happen. So basically, if you are getting a new card against the existing card which you already blocked, right? So the issuer has an option. It depends upon how implementation to implementations.
Okay.
But I mean, technically the issuer can associate the old token to the new card as well. Okay, so automatically all the token that was linked to the old card will be linked to the new card now.
Okay.
And so if that doesn't happen, the user always have an options to kind of go and add these cards in whichever wallet he likes.
But from a user perspective, how would I see the difference? Because my previous card has been blocked. Okay. Let's assume that, I have tokenized my card in one of the wallet application, Apple Pay. Okay. I've lost my card. So now when I get a new card, that's a replaced card, a completely brand new card number, right? So can I still use my token which was previously created on wallet application, or I have to go and enroll again on the mobile application?
Yes, you can use it, Ramesh. So if the issuer support this functionality, so he can, as I said, he can reutilize the old token and he can associate the old token to the new card. So how does the difference the user can find out is what happens is whenever this linking from the old card to new card is happening, the notification goes to the wallet applications. Okay, and the wallet applications replace the user interface. For example, let's say your card previous number was 1234. Now the card number changed to 3456, let's say. So the last 4 digits of your card will be replaced. You will be able to see that this is the new card, which is linked against this token. If that card has a different image, the image will also get changed. So all these visual differences, the user will get to know.
But I feel banks are not using this feature, because I personally experienced this, I think a few years ago when I lost my card. And immediately after I called the customer care, I remember my token was removed from the Apple Pay application. Apple Pay or Samsung, I don't exactly remember which application I was using. But I'm sure that I was not able to reuse the same token again at that point in time. Interestingly, Tanmay, these kind of scenarios are not commonly seen, I guess, because even I, as a user, I have not seen it. But as you said, the issuer still has that option to use it if they want to, right? So now moving on to the testing part, Manohar, like how do you test these kind of scenarios in the test environment?
Yes, Ramesh. I mean, as you said, it is an interesting scenario as well as a tricky scenario for a tester to perform, because as Tanmay is also rightly said, issuer has an option to choose his particular options, how the token should be transferred for an old card or a new card after replacement or a reissuance, whatever the scenario is. So we have to understand that correctly, how the flow is going to happen once the particular piece of code or once the particular piece of functionality is moved into production, how that is going to happen. Yes, this is not a regular happening scenario, but it can be a very rare scenario for any user. However, it is an critical and fraudulent happening on the card, or it is a or it is a financial damage for the user. So we have to make sure, so when such scenario happens, how the card application responds or reacts to that. We have to make sure, like when the card is replaced, how the new card is being boarded or created on the application, whether a new token or an existing token is being transferred. If yes, whether are we able to trigger a transaction using the simulator with this newly created card, or a replaced or reissued card with the token which is transferred or a newly created. So all this combination of scenarios, we will need to think, we need to do in lots of brainstorm from our end, and we have to make sure all these things are tested thoroughly and match the complete requirement which is shared by the issuer.
Really an interesting discussion, guys. Especially these two scenarios, I feel is a brain twister for a user. A normal user, I think it is a bit difficult to react to a particular situation like that and take a quick decision. And that's why I strongly feel that the prior education is needed. If we want the maximum utilization and the adoption of these technologies, then I believe the education is the only way to ensure that a normal user understand these technologies, and they are prepared to handle these kind of scenarios also, and they take timely decision before it is too late and someone start utilizing their device or the card which has been lost. So until now, our discussion has revolved around sensitive data, safeguarding customer card information, exploring various tokenization types, and addressing some of the scenarios of card or device loss. And before we wrap up today's discussion, I would want to touch base one more topic about token life cycle, and would like to understand, since both of you are there, how I as a user can have control on various tokens that I might have created on different wallet based applications or on merchant website. Is there a way that I can go and control all the tokens that I have created? Is that possible today?
So before we jump into the token lifecycle management part of it, let's understand what are the different token states are there. Okay, so when you create a token, that token is getting created. So the token state will be created. And then you can delete the token, which makes the token state deleted. You can temporarily disable the token, and also you can resume the temporarily disabled tokens. Okay, these are the different state that could be possible. Okay, now let's talk about how you can do that. Right? So you already understand how you can create the token, right? You can go into the mobile application, then provision your card. That's when the token is getting created. And once it is getting created, you have the user have multiple options to kind of manage the lifecycle of the tokens.
Okay.
So you can log into the wallet applications, you can log into the merchant websites, and there you will see an options to kind of delete the token. Okay. The card issuer also provide the internet banking service, mobile applications, a separate customer service portal where you can log in and see where all you can tokenize this card. So if you select a particular card, you can see, okay, there are this many number of tokens which I have tokenized in this wallets or merchants. Okay. And additionally, you can also manage the life cycle from there itself. Okay. You can whatever lifecycle management we talked about, we can all do that from this portals or from the net banking applications. You can delete it, you can temporarily disable it, you can resume it, all that you can do from there.
Okay. Thank you so much, Tanmay. I think that's a lot of information that we are getting today around the tokenization from both of you. And Manohar, from a testing perspective also, I'm sure that you must be testing all these different type of statuses that just now Tanmay mentioned, be it a provision or a created, then activation, then disabling or permanently disabling a token. So you must also be testing these during the testing cycles.
Yes, Ramesh, as you rightly said, we have to test the complete token life cycle, starting from the token creation and doing a transaction for the token, and then performing different transaction types like POS, e-commerce, and also we validate the OTP, like the OTP template, whether the OTP is sent for a token creation while a transaction is done for the tokenized card, or when we also test the different scenarios as you mentioned, token activation, deletion, token deactivation process, everything whatever we relate we to the token lifecycle, we make sure that is thoroughly tested. Also, there are some very important token related information which we validate in the card application. For example, the token number or the token creation date, the token status, the wallet provider ID, which means the Apple Pay or a Google Pay, or the device type, the device name, the mobile number. All these things are being stored in your card application. We have to make sure all this data where the token has been created is correctly placed and it is available in the card application. Apart from that, as we discuss right now for an lost and stolen, also we have discussed on multiple fraudulent transaction also. So from testing perspective, we have to test the fraudulent transaction as well, where we have an fraud detection tool or a fraud application with us, which is associated or linked to the card application, which has some set of rules to detect the fraudulent transactions. So we have to make sure that this part is also being tested thoroughly, where we triggered some transactions which makes the fraud rules to trigger and actions upon based on the rules set in the particular fraudulent application. So in short, the complete token life cycle from the creation to the deletion, activation, deactivation, or any fraudulent happening, everything point to point, we have to make sure that application or the card management system which we are working upon is capable enough to do all these activities and give a positive and a good response and feedback to the user. So user can be safe enough because the application which we are supporting from the backend is thoroughly tested by us.
Thank you so much, Manohar and Tanmay, for sharing your invaluable insights today. It was a pleasure having both of you on the show. I believe that there are a lot more information which is available and can easily be exchanged, and we can have a couple of more sessions on this topic of tokenization and transaction security. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Ramesh. It was indeed a very fruitful discussion. Thank you, Manohar, for sharing your insights on how do you test those parts. It was indeed very, very helpful.
Thank you, Ramesh. Thank you, Tanmay.
Kind of stuff that we have covered today. I hope all of you could have understood the significance of sensitive information, the value of tokenization, how to secure the card number, expiry date, and other sensitive information. I'm sure after watching this video, the next time when you would be storing your card information anywhere, you should be able to take informed and smart decisions, and you should be confident enough about your data safety. In today's digital age, knowledge is your best defense against data breaches and fraud. Thank you so much for watching. Stay connected, stay safe, and keep learning.